50 to go. Talk to be sure. Ninja, they had a bump. It's Talk to be sure in front. Spanish Treasure's flying late. Talk to be sure. A maiden no longer.
Is he coming out? Is he taking his running? How much has he interfered with him? Does he come out again? What does Tommy Berry do and say about that?
She's going to be comfortably satisfied, giving the margin of 3/4 of a length at the line. We're not in a position to change the judges' placings. We are going to declare correct weight on the judges' numbers.
One of that quirky Caulfield Heath track that I don't think we've got a real handle on yet because, just only been racing on it for 2 years. It won easily, and I liked its Gold Coast trial to the eye.
1,100 metres first up on the Heath, no matter what, that's good effort. So I'm paying respect to that horse.
Unit 5 back to the far side, 200 metres left to run. Double cool in front from Unit 5. By choice Mystical, Ziploc coming very late. Unit 5, the far side hit the front. Unit 5 is going to win it. Unit 5 won the million.
And now on PG Podcast Network, it's time for the year-round carnival with Vince Accardi and your host, Racetrack Rolfie.
G'day, welcome back to Year-Round Carnival for 2026. Bit of Jackson 5 there as Unit 5 won the big 2-year-old Magic Millions. Drama aplenty. Firstly, pre-race. Oh, God, we're just still in a coma there over the overs, God, just getting us there. And many others, too, who are locked into Bjorn Baker's star 2-year-old, who's the Friday scratching. And then, of course, the post-race drama of race of the 3-year-old with the hot favourite Ninja failing to get up on protest from Talk to be Sure. Vince Accardi from Daily Sectionals. Good morning, mate.
Hey, good morning, Ralphie. Yes, but still good day of racing.
It was a very good day's racing, and firstly, I suppose the question to you, because I thought watching it, the looked like some horses weren't sort of handling the ground, or what's going on here? Out comes the clock. They're running nice and slick times, and can't knock anything.
No, they were moving. It was like nothing less than a good 4.
Yeah, no doubt at all about that. So before we get to the big 3-year-old features, we may as well go in the order of the stakes races, starting off with the Magic Millions Sub-Zero, race 4 on the program here. What the heck was going on here? Were they going quick?
Well, it is a bit crazy, I have to admit, when you sort of look at it and you say, okay, how does a horse jump out and run plus 10 first section? I mean, but that just goes to show, Ralphie, if the speed's there and they want to run, it's going to happen, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that a good strategy? No.
So the question to you is, then, under those circumstances when horses are back in the field, where do you sort of take the true leader? Because, I mean, obviously the bolt has just taken off on Ben Thompson and they string the field right out. So do you ignore that horse? Where's the non-winning position? Where's the strike zone?
Well, realistically, you had 2 lone leaders. You got the first one who's going plus 10 running its own race. So there's no energy that's been drawn by the other horses. The horses running second. Willy Wonka.
Wompett's Willy Wonka.
Yeah, there you go. Plus 5.6. If you have a look at that, that's also on its own. Too far away from the leader, and it's virtually 3 lengths in front of the next horse.
That's 150 to 1. So it's
Yep.
another bolted. No,
So-
don't worry about it.
So plus 2.6 is where the race is.
Major Bill.
Yep, that's where the race is, and that's the essence of where all the horses were drawing the energy from, because the runner behind that, Y-Mark, plus 1.2, like it's part of that huddle, social outcast, plus 1.4. So you've got the structure. You've got 3 horses there creating that tempo for all the horses behind it. The other 2 there are all forgotten.
Right. Yeah. So when, in that situation, when you got Major Bill, who's sort of who was in the market at single figures, so was Y-Mark. They're really the true leaders, along with Social Outcast. you always say 3 to 6 lengths from the lead. That puts Yu Wang in the perfect position. Snitzenova probably just a bit too far back, but so underlining it was a good effort. And Miss Jolene, that's just completely too far back.
Yeah, definitely too far back for Miss Jolene. Yu Wang Sistina, you could say borderline. They're in that zone where you're going to have your chance if you've got what it takes. And the reality is they were just sort of like on that fringe. And they were running as well, Ralphie, really, when you think about it. Like, let's look at Yu Wang, for instance. At 1.9 lengths below benchmark, not far off the benchmark speed in a 2,200 metre race, breaking benchmark between the 8 and the 4, and pretty much held the line until the last couple of hundred metres. And the winner, it's really interesting. How much of an impact does that extra 2 lengths of breathing space make? Sistina going 3.8 below versus 1.9 when you're comparing the two horses. There's not a big difference between the 8 and the 4, 0.2 above versus 0.8. But when you look at the last 400 metres, I'm sure that's where you get the edge of conserving that extra couple of lengths to the 800 metre point, because it was clearly superior, Ralphie.
I wrote up Cincinnati in the Sizzlers from the 13th of the 12th, and it's very real form. Of course, it got beaten by Miss Jolene, who was dead set super. And I'm just wondering, at $21, and of course, this is all just reverse engineering this,
Yep.
but on the 2-week backup, it exceeded the market so far because it was so good that it was still flat at Eagle Farm, and then Gold Coast got it back on track on the 10th, quick backup, and then it's managed to peak again.
Yeah. It's hard to say, did you get the right run, race?
Yes.
For that to pan out that way. I just felt stable, ride, everything was like superb.
I'm just wondering, and one of the things we always talk about here is that you can program as best you can from any stable, but sometimes circumstances don't suit what can pan out for you. And what you're saying with Yu Wang is that maybe under this circumstance, still moving at a decent pace, even though well off those 2 lone leaders. Maybe now she peaks.
Well, that's exactly right, Ralphie. This is the opportunity now for that horse to peak. And mind you, Snitzenova as well, very lightly raced.
Yes.
First time up at the distance, still evolving. And Yu Wang, in its own way, is also lightly raced as well, Ralphie. So these are both horses that are still trending, and we haven't sort of worked out, well, I haven't worked out, like, where are they going to end up? They're just showing great promise.
Yeah, I think that they'll probably get a little freshen and then target some good middle distance mare staying races in the Sydney Carnival. Miss Jolene, she's a beauty, and I did laugh when they moved through the barriers. Vince, I heard the race caller say, "Oh, there's an 8 kilo swing between Miss Jolene and Sly Boots." Well, they were both out the back together, and how'd the 8 kilos go here?
Yeah, you just forget about it, right?
It just makes it easy. You end up getting a good each way opportunity.
That's what happens, isn't it, Ralphie? That the weights are a hotly contested discussion. Of course, they've got to be part of the game. It's been part of the fabric forever, but just because there's an 8 kilo swing, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you've got zero chance. Often, still, it just means you're most likely going to get a better price if you're confident the horse is going to get the right passage. That's, to me, what's the most important. You're going to get the right run.
It certainly didn't on Saturday, so it was a pretty good effort to get to
Yep.
third where it was. Race 5 on the program for the fillies and mares. Well, when did this race start? Because it certainly didn't start out of the barriers nor by the 800 metre mark, because Poster Girl and Jetty the Fox, they were just giggling out in front.
I can't believe this. So here, you got a complete reversal. Like, if that had happened in race 1, for instance, you might have thought to yourself, probably the ground condition out the back's no good, right?
Yes.
Because it's the leader going 6 lengths below benchmark first section, 5.3 below between the 8 and the 4. So it's a 400 metre sprint, and a big 400 metre sprint. And this is what this race turned into. Oh, we know, Ralphie, that when it turns into that, there's only so much you can accelerate over the last 400 metres to be realistically any opportunity of being effective. And even when there was a couple of horses in that race that, ran better than plus 10 last 400, couldn't get victory because they're going so slow. And there's not much between a lot of horses when you just look at a 400 metre sprint with no work early.
So plus 10's a bit of a magic number with your figures, Vince. When you see that, your eyebrows raise. So the 3 horses that broke it were Count Your Blessings, Yes, Lulu, and Scripted.
Yep.
So what do we take notice of from these? Because as you said, they still were going so slow.
Well, the big challenge is when you look at those horses that broke it, they were on barrier trial speed.
Yep.
So if they had been 4 or 5 lengths faster, I probably would have been like more excited. But the reality is, even just as a form student, when you see this sort of setup, you look at the collective numbers, and what I tend to do is say, okay, they've gone barrier trial speed. There's been a better shift in speed between the 8 and the 400 metres. You probably need to discount that last section by roughly 3-4 lengths. If you feel that, it's like this. I look at it like this. The line in the sand was 6 lengths below benchmark the leader.
Yep.
If I said, okay, if you're travelling at that speed as well, what would your close be? Well, realistically, it's just simple mathematics. Say, okay, well, if you take away 4 lengths, you're going about 6.5 above. That's it. And that's the way I look at it. So I don't get too excited. All it does for me is, number one, these horses have huge acceleration when needed, and it sort of further franks how clean the track was in the home straight.
Well, and not just in the home straight. If we get to race 6, and I'm going to get to the 2-year-old, obviously, which was race 7, and it gives us such nice comparison about the different in race shapes. Same day, same conditions, but amazingly different race shapes here. The sprint, my goodness, was the pace on here.
Ralphie, this was like, in some aspects, a little bit of surprise, because this was a serious race.
Yes.
Like a real dead set serious race. Early speed plus 5.5. What's that? Steady ready. The leader, or the winner, Axis, going plus 2.1. 1,200 metres, that's a solid tempo, Ralphie. But then you've had to increase the pace in the middle, because when you look at the AFS, and that's the average field speed, that's plus 3.1. So you use that as the fuel line. Are you burning more or less fuel in that split time? And the reality is, the winner is actually going faster. The leader's still putting plenty of applied pressure. Okay, it can be sort of borderline pay line, but even pay line, like you're sort of right on the edge where you're at that maximum efficiency, but you got speed. So it was probably in some case a little bit aided by only have to travelling around benchmark early. That I felt that helped the horse a little bit in the mid and give it just that stronger overall last 400 metre kick than the winner, plus 3.1 versus 1.6. But this was like plenty of pressure. And if you hadn't sort of been in those sort of races before, or it's the first time, it can adversely affect a lot of horses. But the final figure of plus 2.6, Ralphie, I couldn't score it any lower. That was as low as I could score it.
So Payline, I reckon that the line is Payline in that it's been racing all year. He's a get backer, but when everything goes to plan, including race shape, you know that he's got a +2 in him, and he's run 1.9. He ran third in the Doomben 10,000 to Sunshine in Paris. It's pretty real form back in May in Rothfire Benedetta. Now that then gets the secondary question: where the hell has Axios come from, Vince? It's super.
Well, see, this is the thing, right? You first look at the stable, right?
Yep.
And then you have a look at how many race starts has this horse had. Very little.
Slightly race, yeah.
And you look at the previous campaign; they're all on wet tracks, Ralphie.
Yes.
So it's hard to put down a score. Never really asked, other than one race at Rose Hill, it was never asked to run fast. And that time when it was in its first prep and it ran fast, it was probably too much for the horse. Now, if you strip that away, that first campaign Rose Hill, look at the profile. It's coming back to wants to be a winner. And here we are. Bang.
Sorry to interrupt. Because I've looked it up while you said it. That Rose Hill run, the handy winner, Autumn Glow.
Thank you. Yeah. And this just sort of confirms. Now, the horse was there as a possibility, but it just took the next leap. And it franked about how much it loves when there's good speed in the track, And probably wouldn't have mattered even if there wasn't the same level of speed, because this horse got a bit of versatility, but we've got to see what it's capable of. And that's a no fluke run. This profile will transition, and we can't sit there and say this is the end of the horse and that this is about as far as it can go, because it's still too lightly raced.
I'd say on a quirky sort of day, because of the high pressure, big fields. Several runners are in every race have pretty much got no chance because of they qualify because of the yearling sales they come through. It's
Right.
just the nature of Magic Millions Day. I'd say on that type of day, this is the takeaway from the whole meeting. Axios is a serious horse to take notice of going forward.
Ralphie, it's a serious horse. It's one that we have to mark and follow into the future. And I have no doubt we're going to be seeing it, well, at least in Sydney, but we could see it in Melbourne too.
100%. Now, so the query, and it was a frustrating day for us on Friday. The one thing was with the instructor that it was such a good run first up, but it was a big gutbuster first up. And the query was travel 14 days. And you said any other stable, you'd almost put a line through it, Waterhouse spot. But when you get that query of the 14-day back up off a big first up run and then into this type of pressure, that's the forgivable run for me for the meeting.
Definitely is, Ralphie. It's one of those challenging scenarios that happens. We're very aware of that, having that understanding of the pattern recognition. And in most cases, it can hold you in really good stead. And I just call it the warning signal.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you can just move away from it completely. Like, I'm not going to even look at it. You can just sit on the sidelines, but you definitely have to downgrade your bets generally, right, when that happens, because it's the old story. If you want to back like a 15, 20 to 1 pop, every now and then you're going to get one, right? But you're not going to get it as a reoccurrence every single time. And this is the same thing, that every now and then they will defy that, but the majority won't. And this is the classic case, 4.8 above. Then plus 3.1 in this race, just to top it off, right? That didn't do it any favours, Ralphie, because we also know to get the edge back so you can be competitive, and when they have been able to overturn that setup, is they generally in very slowly run races, or the horse is a bit of a standout.
Yeah.
And this is what's happened. And then it's just all of a sudden, not only had to deal with that, but then had to deal with this really super fast pace. And if you look at this line of history, I mean, its average speed early is about 1.1 historically. It's taken all the fast and slow. And here it is going 4.8 above. And then even when you look at the mid, Ralphie, the average for this horse in the mid is like benchmark -1 plus 3.1. I'm with you. Definitely forgive. And I mean, I don't know. Does this horse go back to Sydney? Where does something like a horse like this go, Ralphie?
I'd say likely back to Sydney 4 or 5 weeks break, and then look out. It would be dangerous.
Yeah.
All right, race 7, the 2-year-old. So War Woven was the coma of job of everyone. I put out something about $6, and someone said to me they got 50s before its first start. So he would have been an absolute coma job. So of course it gets scratch race morning. Unit 5 that came from that quirky Caulfield Heath form. But firstly, before we discuss its win, as I said, the race-to-race comparison here. First 400 metres compared to the sprint, nearly 7 legs slower, Vince. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, the even bigger thing is, Ralphie, not only the 7 lengths, but you look at the average field speed, right? It's 6.8 lengths below benchmark is the average field speed. And in the race with the Axis, right, it's plus 2.6. So that just shows you, like the winner, and I'm not, and this is a Unit 5, nothing against the winner, but the reality is you just got gifted a situation in terms of a setup. But the horse is going 8.2 lengths below benchmark. And this is another classic case. If you take away the horse was going 1.2, what's that? Itching to go. Itching to go. There you go. Yeah. And the other one, Tigorio, is that right?
Tigrani.
Yep. Yeah, Tigrani. Yeah. Those two horses, minus 1.2, minus 3. The rest of the pack are running anywhere between 5 and 8 lengths below benchmark.
So they're cruising. So, yeah.
What do you do? You get nice speed in the middle. It was genuine. I liked the move in the middle. So at least the power did come into the race, which is good. And then the last 400, it was also good to see, the winner, Unit 5, going 4.6 lengths above benchmark last 400. And fair enough, you still had to have some power at the end. A lot of them didn't, Ralphie, just didn't have that capability, and they were done. But of course, we'll never know what could it have been. But I just sort of sit back and say that the horse have got omitted. Imagine if it was travelling 8 lengths below benchmark early.
Well, you did say on Friday when I made the case for Unit 5 as a for multis, you said, well, okay, probably has to find 5 to beat Warwoven. I think it would have been a space job, Vince.
Yeah.
It would have been in that lead pack and just cruising. But anyway, the stable entitled and the connections are entitled to be a bit sort of sad there. But the one thing with Unit 5, though, didn't really get clear air until probably the 300 to go. Tommy Stockdale rode the beautiful race and then needed things to open up. But I just want to ask you, that last 200, that's pretty strong for a 2-year-old. Even I know what you said about the soft tempo, he still has to have some upside.
Well, yes, of course, young horse, for sure. But what you've got to sort of bring into consideration is the upside's determined by the distribution of energy as well. And when you go to those micro splits, like it's almost perfect, Ralphie. Like plus 1.18 to the 6, plus 1.6 to the 4, 4 to the 2.8. Like you look at that 600 metres, like it's almost excellent efficiency, and then bang, last. So even that little bit of waiting for the clear air, that might have helped that to happen. Now, the question is, how much more could the horse improve by? Well, I feel that that's all got to come from the early speed, Ralphie. The horse knows how to go a lot faster. It didn't have to. So I have no doubt there's got to be 2-3 lengths there for sure. So it is a benchmark horse, and or possibly better. And therefore, I'm with you. Of course, this horse is going to improve.
Did you find the $1.30 Ninja the place?
No. I know. I don't know how that happened, but no, I don't know.
Paid $1.40 on one of the totes, but
but
fair for you.
I don't know how that happened. It must have been a last minute thing or last.
Exactly.
Yeah. It all must have happened way too late. And of course, even in that situation, I have seen those things happen before. But big risk though. You got to go and do that. But anyway,
So Jamie, one of our great members, has asked, just a question, not too late, ignoring the rules for a minute, because they currently don't allow, could data actually be used to help determine protest? Vince has speed data. Is there a world where this or other metrics could help make protests less about gut feel, as they seem to be at the moment, where the winning margin seems a critical evidence used and everything else is guesswork?
Yeah, well, here's the interesting thing. Of course, there are cases, and data has been used, for other scenarios, not in protests. And generally, Ralph, you and I, when we've seen these things in the past, you can see the evidence in the data.
Yep.
But I actually can't see it here, other than what you see in running. But if you look at what's happened in running, there's no momentum flow stop. None. Absolutely none.
Yeah, so describe that. So from the 400, 200, and 200 to last 200, Ninja's actually slightly increased its pace, but so's Talk to be sure.
Yeah, and then the first critical fact is this. Not that it had relevance at the end for the protest, but that first section, the winner's gone plus 1.1 versus 0.9 below. But then you look at the move. The winner's actually slow between the 8 and the 4 by 3.7 lengths versus 1.1. So that's a bit of a negative for the winner, slowing more. But then when you look at the micro splits, if you looked at it at the 800 metre point, they've had virtually, let's say this is where the race was, Talk to be sure, 2.9 below, Ninja 2.8 below. 6 to the 4, Talk to be sure, 0.2 above, Ninja 0.7 above. 4 to the 2, Talk to be sure, 0.3, increasing its pace by 0.1. Ninja increases by another almost half a length to plus 1. Now we get to the last 200 metres, and you've got a 1.5 versus a 1.4. Talk to be sure was going very strong on the line. Sure, it was shifting, right? but it wasn't losing momentum. And Ninja was also it increased its pace. And I felt that it probably increased its pace to its maximum. You can sit there and say, oh, but would you have found like another 3/4 of a length or half length? Well, I don't know if you would have, because you were topping out. You'd actually topped out very close to the 200 metre mark already, because you only found 0.4 more, where Talk to Be Sure found another length. So I went looking for that. So, okay, clearly this is, it should be the other way, because that's what it looked like. But then when you look at the numbers, they go, yeah, on this occasion, I reckon they made the right call.
No, I've got no doubt the stewards, under the rules of racing, have made the right call.
Yeah.
And I've had a good look at it, and because the rules of racing simply say, are the stewards comfortably satisfied that if the interference didn't occur, would it definitely have won? Well, you can't say definitely, and the numbers are backing it up.
And this is this is what I'm looking at now. You could say, all right, well, if the run starts a little bit later, like Talk to Be Sure, and this just comes down to rides, right? Could that have made a difference in the final output of energy? Well, the winner's done more work everywhere and beat you. Yeah.
Well, the only thing, because even like Michael Freeman, great man, but at the protest he's saying, and Ben Mellum didn't stop riding. In actual fact, in the rules of racing, there is nothing that says he should be penalised for not stopping riding.
That's right.
There's actually the amount of noise was extraordinary. So to reverse engineer it, because would have loved to have said pre-race that Talk to Be Sure was going to beat Ninja, we couldn't see. But was this because fast tempo, Talk to Be Sure on the quick backup with 4 runs prior, Ninja just the 2 runs, and maybe the pressures just sort of found out Ninja third up into a high pressure 1400.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that's the horse that's a little bit more lightly raced and could potentially have more scope. But at the end, I just sort of sit back and say, okay, one rock hard fit, the other one, almost time to the minute, Ralphie, right? Because you look at the prism of the data. I don't know if there's anything left. Maybe if there was just a bit more, if there's more tension in the middle, that sometimes can change the dynamics, and that could have potentially worked in Ninja's favour. You don't know, but I sit back and I see the same thing with the other horse. Now the question is, maybe both these horses could be a challenge to follow at their next start if they have another start. This is in the current prep.
Everything sort of smacks at this grand final day. So
right,
yeah, they've got the grand final, so it could be a Queensland Carnival job for both of them in a few months' time. Yeah. Race 9 of the program here. Oh, Vince, I wasn't liking this pre-race because I didn't mind. I didn't mind need some luck each way. Stablemate King of Rousseau, a horse who we've put in sizzlers over the journey. He's a beauty when he's right. 12s and the 10s, and sure enough, grand final trainer Peter Snowden from grand final trainer Tony Golan, Boomtown boss, big odds too. It was a nowhere to hide race shape though.
Oh, plenty of pressure, 6.9 above first section, so you're running, Ralphie. And then even in the middle, there was definite deliberate. When I say deliberate easing, not so much deliberate in the sense that okay, we have to anchor drop. Morvavia, who's using all the pace and creating all the pressure, obviously realised you have to be slowing, right? And maybe even started to weaken slightly. But that did force a bunch of other horses to have to slow in that mid-race, and that affects the impact of what they can potentially produce over the last 400 metres. And here you are, you're in a scenario where even the winner, you could just sit there and say, are you borderline the right spot or not? Like you're just there. And all I could put down to ride was obviously a big plus. Didn't slow down anywhere near the same as the rest, because you could see a whole bunch of horses were in the column of the mid-race slowdown, and that was the one that slowed the least, and it was like up front, compared to the others.
Moravia's gone huge, hasn't it?
Yeah, a big run. Massive run. I have no doubt run 2 lengths slower per section. Now, whether you would have been allowed to do that, because unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Yellow Bricks has put tension in the race. It was a tension creator, because And the other one, Tough 2 Muss, who's run last, was also definitely a tension horse, and Cool Jakey. They created all that pressure, and everyone got caught in that vacuum. So maybe, even though I'd say if Morvavi had run 2 lengths slower, it would have made a difference, but I don't believe it was going to be allowed to in the end. But had it, probably would have won the race, Rolfie.
Well, it's 41s to 26s. This is a horse who they had a big opinion of as a 3-year-old. He resumed as a gelding, had just a 2-run cameo, I think, in the autumn in Queensland, and then showed a little bit of talent in Sydney. I can see him winning a lot of races back to Sydney. Give it the 4 or 6 week freshen up. I think he's a dangerous horse. And Yellow Brick, we almost need to have exactly the same conversation, because we did on the Friday. This was one that was the case beforehand, as with the instructor. You said the one warning is last week was its big booming time to make money off it. On a 7-day backup, it's dangerous, as in dangerous to put money on. Well, it's very dangerous when they're going plus 5.1 on a quick backup.
Yeah, and that's where they got caught, unfortunately. They got caught in a race with plenty of tempo. Yeah, this horse normally can handle that.
Yep.
But on that backup, it was going to be a major negative. And you could see they hit the wall pretty much after that first 400 metres, and it was all hard work for the horse.
J-Mac knew what he was doing, and so did the stable. 10's into a 650 Hawker Hall. You obviously got set the place on Rosalind Star, but in the end, Hawker Hall's gone pretty good, and just too much to do from the in a even pace situation. The mid race difference for Hawker Hall compared to Rosalind Star was huge, and there was a gap the rest.
Yeah, and again, this was another horse. I did back Rosalind Star, Ralphie, but I went very cautiously. I wanted to be more aggressive, but I just know from experience, when you get those fast trials, they're exciting because, the horse must be feeling sensational, but just the setup was going to be a big challenge because you're going to leave some of it potentially behind. And you can see that first split time, 5.3 lengths below benchmark, that virtually put you in a, I won't say non-winning position, but was going to make life very difficult. The move was huge. You look at the mid-race move between the two horses, Hawker Hall 3.4, Ralph. Rosalind Star 9.4. A 6-length variation, 1 second in the mid. And then obviously a lot stronger late over the last 200 metres. So circumstances. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you didn't have that sort of trial and it was 3, 4, 5 lengths softer, but still a great signal. What would happen is this, Rolf. You'll get into a race like this, you have a lot more speed in your legs early. And it changes the dynamic all of a sudden. Imagine if this horse was just going 2.5, 3 lengths below benchmark. It would have been all over. So a good horse for us to follow into the future. Still got some money out of it because I felt that a horse still paid decent for a place. And hopefully we can gain more gold out of it in the future.
And just to finish with, let's have a listen to the last 400 metres of Via Sistina's Cox Plate winner 2024.
Jenny grabbed by Prognosis, but Via Sistina now pushes the button on the outside and goes up and takes the lead. Via Sistina, 300 metres to go, puts up 2 legs. Prognosis, Docklands, Mr. Brightside, and then came Royal Patronage. But Via Sistina storms away with 150 to go. She's 5 lengths in front. It's going to be a Cox Plate round, and James McDonald, a century of the very best. Via Sistina by 7.
Century the very best for James McDonald, called Matty Hill, courtesy of Racing.com. And Vince Via Sistina's been retired, happy, healthy, carrying her sword. But the reality was Chris Waller put out a statement saying they just weren't happy with her coming in. She's 8 years old now. I think she goes down as a genuine grade of the turf, but she's got a spike, and that spike that we just heard there, that Cox Plate win was Winks like. I remember our conversation afterwards. You said you'll just give it to Winks, but not by much. That's how good it was.
Yeah, and it was absolutely unbelievable. Even the other runs, Rolfie. The 2,000 metres Randwick 6.4 above, the Flemington 2,000 4.7, but the Mooney Valley 14.3, 11.9 first split time. That's what the super horses do, Rolfie. They can defy it all through that first split time. Be able to run super fast and still be there at the end to get victory. That's breathtaking for me. And I know we only seen that once, but it was only ever asked to do that once. because never ever had another opportunity with that type of setup.
Well, it's funny because how often we referred to Pride of Jenny as this era as the cleaner, and the cleaner was setting up that amazing first Cox Plate win of Winks, and this was the case that Pride of Jenny wasn't in enough races for Via Sistina because too often she was in very slow tempo races, and we didn't get to actually see her get an opportunity to do anything bar that Cox Plate win.
Yeah, and I have no doubt if there was more of them, we'd get more of those scenarios where this horse was absolutely at that elite level and one of the better horses that's ever graced a turf in Australia.
Well, there's a change in the guard and the good horses. A few of them return at the trials. We're going to do a deep dive next week, but there's sort of three I do want to ask Vince about from the trials, and also a little 2-year-old that I think might have gone under the radar on Saturday that could be something. And that's going to be for our members bonus. We're not here without our members. We have no corporate bookmaker affiliation. So if you want to get each week's members bonus podcast, just go to my website, racetrackralphie.com.au, click through the links and get be part of the team on the Year Round Carnival podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you next week.